Kick-starting with the third panel discussion for the day. The topic of the panel is Enabling the Innovation in Admission, Assessment, Automation, Accreditation in Higher Education, Roadmap Ahead. The moderator for this session is Dr. Priyanka Singh, Director, Dr. D.Y. Patil, Institute of Management and Entrepreneur Development, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, ma'am. A big hand, everybody, please. Aditya Bavadikar, Chief Executive Officer, Mitcon Institute of Management, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. Dr. Pralay Kumar Ghosh, Director, Surya Datta Group of Institutes, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. A big hand, everybody. Dr. Vivek V. Kulkarni, Director, Innovation and Incubation Center, Sanjay Godawat University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. Dr. J.B. Patil, Campus Director, Universal College of Engineering, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. Professor Dr. Vivek S. Deshpande, Director, Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. Dr. Mahesh D. Godar, Director, MIT Academy of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. And Professor Neelkant B. Chopre, Deputy Director, Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra. Welcome, sir. Priyanka, ma'am, over to you.
Good afternoon. Welcome back. The toughest and most elaborative session since it is post-lunch. So, thank you, dear panelists. First of all, I would like to extend my thanks to Elets, the way they have organized one-day learning and networking session for all academicians as well as industry leaders. Thank you. To start with, the topic for today is enabling the innovation in admission, assessment, automation, accreditation in higher education. So simply put forward, it is enabling innovation in 4 A's. To start with, if I see, right from the morning we have discussed how higher education has evolved. Transformation is essential and key enablers, definitely technology is one of the key enablers. So today we'll be focusing on 4 A's. To start with admissions. Innovation in admissions, and I request my panelist, Mr. Aditya, to take this topic and discuss his points forward. Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And post-lunch, being the first batsman is a matter of pressure, but I'll try to address this as best as I can. If you look at the admission process for any institution, whether it is in management or any fraternity for that matter, we need to look at probably three different periods. The first one would be post-2019. That is before actually the pandemic happened. Between 20 and 22, that is during the pandemic and the after effects. And now what is the way forward after 22? Prior to 2019, even when I was a student, primarily the idea was to go to an institute, to inquire about the institute, to see the facilities, to talk to the faculties, take all the information available over there, and something that we call as a physical evidence in marketing, to actually obtain the physical evidence and then take an informed decision of taking admission over there or not. Between 2020 and 21, precisely, the entire movement of all the students was practically frozen. So, irrespective of whether the students were in your same hometown or whether, in the same town as your institute or whether they were in any other town for that matter, any kind of movement was actually arrested from their place to visit you. So, the problem was that, the entire journey or the entire, display of your campus or all the other things was to be done on the platforms like Zoom or Google Meet. Fortunately, all the education institutes, since all of us accepted Zoom and Google Meet as a platform, any which ways for delivering our lectures, it was pretty easy for us to adapt and then take it up as one of the tools for the admissions. However, what has happened is, in the last few years, especially if I talk about Pune, there is a lot of competition that has happened specifically in the space of the management education. I am speaking about management because I represent that fraternity. So in the management education space, there is a lot of competition that has happened, especially in a place like Pune. So when we have students traveling all over maybe from India, from all over the parts of Maharashtra, we first need to focus on how do we actually get them to see the campus, because that is the first step that they use in the decision-making process before even inquiring. Now, using platforms like Google Meet and platforms like Zoom, or platform like your virtual tours that you have on your websites, those platforms can certainly be used in the, for generating the interest. I'm not saying the inquiries, generating the interest in the minds of your students. But further, the problem that happens over here is because we have at least 2 lakh plus applicants who are applying for a course like management education. The problem here is that when the inquiries come to us, how do we tackle those inquiries immediately? Just to give an example, a friend of mine, he moved from Bangalore to Pune. And while moving, he inquired for the movers and packers services on Just Dial. The moment he put down the phone, in the next 15 minutes, he had about 20 different calls that had come to his phone. The first call that he attended was the call that he finished the discussion with. The next 19 calls that he got, he never even entertained them. Unfortunately, that is the same thing that is happening with the admissions in the education institutes. Using portals, we have a lot of online portals that give our information, where we display our information about the institutes, and there are students who are practically inquiring from 10 different sources. Ultimately, they are coming to the one point, which is your institute. So whichever point that they are inquiring from, the moment the inquiry comes to you, handling that inquiry in time is very, very essential. If we don't handle the inquiry in time, that is where the entire thing is lost. What we are still doing is we are actually adding a lot to our team. We are building up a lot of team within our own premises to handle these inquiries. But if we don't have a robust platform to get these inquiries probably in one funnel, then these inquiries will be lost in space somewhere. So there are a lot of online platforms, and there are a lot of tools. In fact, we have a lot of our friends who are waiting, who I met outside, who are into this this business where they help us channelize all these inquiries in one place. We have platforms like Extra Edge, we have platforms like NPF, we have platforms like Lead Square. These are lead management systems which typically are being used or have to be used by institutions to manage these inquiries. Specifically for an institution like me, when I'm a standalone institution, I have maybe a few hundred or thousand inquiries. For institutions that are maybe even bigger in size, definitely the number of inquiries are more. So the basic point over here is not to let the inquiry or not to let the lead get lost anywhere, but the lead has to be arrested immediately, tackled to, and then taken forward. As far as after nurturing the lead is concerned, even now, we need to adopt the technology very effectively. Initially, we were all conducting group discussions, we were conducting our processes in those locations, or we would invite candidates across to our location and maybe conduct these processes on our campus. Today, what is happening is because of the availability of Zoom and Google Meets, students are not willing to travel. So we have to adapt to a fact that any kind of, the interview process or selection process has to happen on Google Meet or on Zoom. Of course, wherever possible, we try to do it on the offline mode. But as far as possible, we can actually go and adapt on this so that the distance between the cup and lip, like I say, between the inquiry and the closure of the inquiry, the distance can be further narrowed down, and we can have a better talent pool that can come to our institutions and they can study with us.
Thank you, Mr. Aditya, throwing light on the admission process, generating inquiries, at the same time making those inquiries into fruitful customers in the campus. Our next panelist, Dr. Ghosh. How can we keep the admission process simple, real, at the same time it should meet the trends of diversity, equity, inclusiveness also?
Yeah, going by my own experience, when I came from corporate to academics, and what I found in the workplace, the students who come for the interview, I find they are not being properly groomed in the classroom or in the B schools. So then the question comes, how we are admitting the students in the B schools, what is this thing? And if you look at today, the old school of thought of looking at the CV, grade, that has taken a backseat now. It is no more grade or writing an essay. Is it good enough to judge a student whether it is fit for the admission or not? Okay. So given that, there is a paradigm shift in the admission process, given the kind of scenarios and the generation we are churning out in the coming years. There are a lot of panelists. I think I will not elaborate further,
Thank you.
but I think I made my point clear. So I request now the next panelist to come.
Now we'll move to the next A, which is assessment, innovation in assessment. Dr. Vivek Kulkarni, sir, can you throw light on how to improve or how to innovate the assessment process? Because during pandemics, we have clearly seen that taking lectures, conducting lectures was very easy, but assessment was really tough for many of the institutions. So how to take care of innovation in assessment?
It's actually a nice and required question because because of these last 2 years, whatever we have done, and the students are habitual of having only depending upon MCQ type of things, and real knowledge is not being assessed. So especially we have to take help of the available tools and the help of AI as well, because now it has already entered and it is required really in the assessment, because the level of students and their understanding is not very clear. So we have to have the assessment at different level, and only AI can help in this regard. Because when I ask the questions, and especially when I use the tools for assessment, maybe through, let us say, any LMS form, then what happens, I do not understand whether the student have really understood at the level or not. So maybe some different level of questions we have to form, and then once he tackles the question, then next level he should go. And parallelly, the feedback in the assessment also matters a lot. So immediately we have to give the feedback, or it should happen through AI only. And some of the tools are already available, and we have to use them, because handling a class of 60 matters a lot. Because earlier when we started, because I am working last 30 plus years in engineering education, and our entire institute strength was 1600. Now one class is, one computer science is having 600 intake. So that's a different story altogether, and we are not getting the real assessment happening there. So we have to take help of these tools, and technology is there, and it will help really us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your inputs. Moving on to next panelist. How can we make the assessment process really simple, fair? It can be customized and really available for all the stakeholders.
Thank you, madam. See, I'm from engineering background. AICT has given the model curriculum, and from last 2 years, they have modified in such a way that they have given more emphasis on the practical aspects rather than the theoretical. So to have the innovative idea of assessment is a continuous assessment and continuous learning of the students. So more practical aspects, as earlier panelists, earlier sessions, the people have said that there has to be more hackathons. So instead of having the end semester examination of around 80 or 100 marks, that can be made 20, and 80 would be a continuous assessment of their practical aspects in the laboratory rather than the theoretical, because as an engineer, they have to work practically. That's why even in the curriculum, the government has reduced the theory aspects to 5 lectures to 3 lectures and given more on lab or hands-on. So that would be one idea where we can develop the skilled engineers in the future to come.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Definitely that will be an enhanced part. Moving on to the next panelist. And moving on to the third A, which is automation in higher education. Sir, can I expect your views how to automate the different aspects of higher education? It can be related to admin, it can be related to academics or scholarship, just from your side, sir.
Yeah, sure.
automation generally starts with, hello? Yeah. Automation generally start with, right from admissions, you are rightly talking about. But how the admissions get improved, that is a big task for not only the urban, but even for the villages kind of, I'm just talking about the engineering colleges mainly. Pandemic situation, teaches a lot, and where the actual automation required over there. CET extends very much. अभी 3 weeks पहले ही CET हुई. I'm talking about the Maharashtra. And because of that, first year extends. But for the second year, third year, and final year, again the next commencement of the year should be rather 1st of August, or for the university affiliated colleges, July. So again, automation is required for everything, right from the admissions, assessment, what they are rightly talking about, and what the industry wants, that is the automation is required. I'm not talking about automation for industry 4.0 kind of automation, but automation for the pedagogy of that what we are teaching to the students. As he rightly says that only theory doesn't works very well. Everybody know, rather management must know that, management kind of teachers must know that KSA approach. So knowledge, skills, and attitude. So knowledge that what we teachers give, right? Attitude that what we have, a student have rather. And what about the skill which is required by the industry? Those has to be automated in pedagogy of the teaching learning process. That is what my perspective is. And third point, assessment. Assessment again has to be not only theoretical one, he rightly says, but the more and more weight has to be given to practical based kind of learning, or a PBL, project based or problem based learning, right? Because unless and until we are giving some problem, throw some problem to the students, then learnability of the problem will be increased at that time. Say, I very much understand the mentality of the IIT people. There is a subject called as the data structure in computer IT and the multiple streams. In data structure, we are having a multiple searching and sorting algorithms. Is there a need to the students to teach all the sorting algorithms or searching algorithms? No, actually not. We will lose the learnability of the students. Simple example is, एक बार पराठा कैसे करते, we will know that stuff क्या करना है, that we will be think of. एक बार पराठा करने के लिए सीखो. एक algorithm has to be, you have to teach to the students. Say for example insertion sort, and then other sort can be learned by themselves, or assessment दे दो उनको, and that assessment has to be then assessed by the teachers. That is what I think of. So learnability has to be improved, and then only if the KSA approach has to be fulfilled, employability of the student will be increased. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Definitely automation will be a part of, is a part of admission, assessment, as well as accreditation, which is the next part of our discussion. Over to the next panelist. Sir, I would like to understand how automation can lead to better student learning process.
First of all, good afternoon, one and all. First of all, I thank Elets for creating this wonderful opportunity for discussion and deliberation, especially on the recent topic, that is enabling innovation in admission, assessment, automation, and accreditation, especially in higher education. I feel privileged to be the part of this esteemed panel members. Basically, there has been a shift. When the students come from the preliminary education to the engineering education, there is a paradigm shift from teacher-centered learning to the student-centered learning. In the previous case, the teacher is to decide what has to be taught to the students. If the teacher is to say that this is a pen, student used to just blindly believe this is a pen. Why that is called as a pen, no one knew it. But however, once we come to the engineering part, there has to, usually we are working in a different approach. Every teacher feels that everything is important. Everything has to be taught. Basically, if at all you see, the students are over-engaged and the students do not get time to think, that is self-learn. I feel I got a different mindset. Of course, we have been discussing since morning about various aspects and challenges. I feel there is no one solution to all these particular problems we are talking about. Each and every scenario has to be addressed differently from a different perspective. The way it is said, I can tell the students how to swim, but I cannot, until unless they swim, they cannot learn how to swim. These are the two different things. As a teacher, I'm telling them how to swim, but finally when they go to the industry, until unless they swim themselves, they learn themselves, it becomes very difficult for them to actually get prepared for the industry readiness. So for this, I would like to, because of the government regulations, because of the UGC, they are making it all open, they are giving a lot of flexibility to the institutions, how to teach, what to teach. I feel I'm presenting with a different scenario. Basically, it may not be applicable to all these courses, but definitely it can be applied to some of the courses, especially when it is a small classroom. Of course, in India, we can never get a small classroom. We have got a very big volume of classrooms. So, if at all we start, rather than teaching everything, if at all we take a problem, why can't we start the lesson itself with a problem? And then why the students should not be exposed to various things that are liquid to solve that problem? Because since morning we have been telling that the real world problems are not monotonous, they are multidisciplinary, they are transdisciplinary, they require a lot of knowledge. So why can't we start the class with a problem? And why can't we just let the teachers tell them a big background about the various technologies that are required, let the student learn, let him fail, let him experience. That is, I feel that if at all in a day there are 8 hours of classes, I feel students should not be engaged for more than 30 to 40 minutes. They should spend, having said that, I don't say that they should be left out of control, but they should be regulated. They should be allowed to work on a real world problem. They should, I feel, providing this environment to the students will definitely help. Now coming to the problem that is supposed to be by the moderator. Having said all this, if at all I want to put it in an automation form or in an assessment form, it is not going to be very easy. And there cannot be one solution for all this. So first of all, the teachers had to be trained how to teach. We as engineers, we become engineers and directly from engineering we went to the classrooms. But we have been never taught how to teach. I feel there is a need that the teachers should be taught how to teach. And as we said, actually, of course, we are learning this. If at all I go back and recollect what I studied in my engineering, sorry, I'm not using even 5% of the engineering knowledge I learned as a student. So at the end of the day, I feel the scenario is going to be changing. As rightly said by some of the panelists in the morning, tomorrow is going to be different from today, and day after tomorrow is going to be different from tomorrow. So we need to be continuously learning. We need to continuously learn, self-learn what is required by the industry, and we have to make our own rubrics to assess the students. And in a bigger classroom, it's not possible for the teacher to assess the students. But however, there are certain tools that have come out, especially in our college, we are using something called as Moodle. Okay, it is an LMS tool, learning management tool. There are very interesting aspects or very interesting ways out in order to address this. For example, there are forum discussions. There are peer learning assessment. Why the teacher should assess everybody's answer sheets? Why can't the student? Of course, there is a lot of responsibility coming up when I talk about this particular point. So if at all a problem statement is given, why can't the students take their own other alternative colleagues' papers? And once the assessment is done, yes, then the teacher can really say how the students have checked themselves. So this way I feel it will save your time. We can use the technology. And now coming to the last point, that is accreditation. I feel accreditation requires hell of a documentation work. If at all you see any teacher is involved more in doing the documentation work rather than the teaching work. Teacher doesn't get a time to prepare himself or herself for the classes. This is the fact. But having said that, in case we use the we use the technology that is coming our way, I feel that will help us in a long way. No document will be required to be done, but I feel using the technology will help us to address all these issues. And finally, I will like to conclude by saying that first of all, the teachers should be trained how to teach the students depending on the various requirements of the subject. There is no one particular thumb rule. When the teachers become competent, definitely they can define their rubrics, they can definitely define their own problem statements, and I feel finally this examination should be, of course, the examination should be left to the teacher himself. When we conduct the examination centrally, the students go on to the memorizing basis, remembering concept. That is not going to solve a problem. I feel the teacher can be given a freedom to do an open book test. What is wrong? Why the student should remember it? As long as they are able to refer to the knowledge that is available in the books, on the line, through the various platforms, I feel doing this, giving this flexibility to the students, giving them more time to think, to solve the problems, I feel we can definitely make the learning more joyful and enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you, panelists, for sharing your inputs and adding new dimensions into the learning level of students as well as teachers. Over to our next panelist, Dr. Chopre. How can we bring innovations in the current buzzword, which is accreditation? We all are familiar with accreditation, and that is the biggest task which is happening in each and every campus. So how to bring innovations in accreditation?
Yeah, thank you, madam. This is a very good question. Accreditation framework is already known to the institutes, whether it is an engineering institute or management institute. And the crux is the outcome-based education. When we call OBE, outcome-based education, say the simple philosophy, I suppose, that whatever we are delivering to the end product, that is the student, he or she should be able to showcase all these qualities through skills, attitude, and behavior, wherever he or she is serving, maybe at industry, maybe at global level, maybe in the society. Purposely, I am highlighting this society word because nowadays there are a lot of discussions happening. In the NEP 20 also, the major focus is given on this aspect. What is the exact usage or outcome whenever there is a development of national spirit, national Make in India, and many other missions. So the entire focus of this accreditation, no doubt the framework is there, COPO assessment, program educational objectives, mapping their levels, understanding, question. So lot of work every teacher, every institute is carrying, and they are simply confirming to the accrediting agencies, whether it is NAC or NBA. The program evaluator comes, and we are confirming only that we are following the things. It may be through the documentation, it may be through the assessment, oral assessment. But the crux is that whether really we are working for the betterment of the student, whether betterment of the stakeholders, their parents, and entirely obviously the industry stake and the nation. So that is the main thing. And ma'am, your question is innovation. So definitely curriculum, being from academic side, curriculum is the most important thing. So while designing the curriculum, major focus should be given on this aspect. So industries and the other stakeholder must be taken into consideration while designing the curriculum framework. It should be more flexible. In fact, the stakeholder include the parent. So parent must be there while designing the curriculum framework. And the transparent assessment. So the student must be aware about their credits. So how they have written, there should be a proper process of showcasing the answer book to the students. And proper transparency should be maintained throughout the evaluation and assessment of the students, achievement of the credits. If it is followed, then probably whatever we are expecting, that automation in the accreditation process, in the admissions, that will definitely improve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Definitely, accreditation is a major issue and it needs to be handled by all organizations in their ways. Now, just wanted to understand how the challenges we are facing if we take admissions or assessment or automation or accreditation. So moving from one panelist to another, just 1 minute recap from your side. What are those challenges and how to combat those challenges? Please, Aditya, sir.
So I'll touch upon 2 points. As far as admission is concerned, like I mentioned earlier, there is a lot of competition. So if you look at the earlier years, the number of institutions offering a particular course was limited. So it was quite obvious that a student would either go to an institution A, B, or C, or D. But today that's not the case. Today we have everybody who is offering almost a similar kind of, the syllabus or the course. Of course, we try to differentiate between ourselves, depending upon the quality. But ultimately, how do we reach to the student and how do we get the student to enroll with us, and that too within the quality and whatever norms that we have decided for ourselves. So that's the first challenge according to me. And I mentioned about the tools that we can use. As far as automating the system is concerned, sir mentioned about documentation. So I'll come to the next challenge, which is documentation. In case of NBA accreditation, for example, we have to document everything right from input to the the final output that is there in the industry. So input we understand is the admission process. If I have an automated system where I can have the entire thing from input, that means the inquiry generation, the entire process, the assessment of the student in the the GDPI process, and even the letters that are being sent, the selection letters that are being sent. If everything can be automated, my drafting, manual drafting of those things slightly reduces. That leaves my team with a lot of more room to approach more students. So that is one part. As far as the documentation is concerned for other activities such as guest lectures or any kind of placement activities are concerned, we may have a simpler system in probably in an Excel format where we can have simply fields which have been given, drag and drop fields, and we can use that. Maybe that will help us to reduce the span of typing those documents, because while sir mentioned about the time that faculties find limited when they actually do the documentation. If we can find simpler formats, ultimately NBA accreditation asks us to submit documentary evidences. I mean, panelists can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is no specific format that they've ever prescribed. So formats, designing the formats is up to us. If we can have some kind of an automated system, maybe a simple Excel kind of a format, it can actually reduce the pain of people going and typing, and then maybe they can save on time on that.
I think the biggest challenge is today how to ensure students come to the classroom. See, my own experience says that after admission, first semester, X number, second down, third down, fourth 0. So they are not showing up. So what is the problem? I think faculty has a lot of challenge to ensure that they perform in such a manner, deliver, that students get attracted and come to classroom. And that's not happening. And because that is not happening, when I met some students after pandemic, what they told me? Sir, I don't remember my college campus also, because I have not visited for the last 2 years. And then faculty, I do not remember who taught us what. So, whether online or offline, these are real challenges actually being faced. So I find it is very challenging for the faculties to ensure that students do attract the faculty's lecture or presentation. And of course, I think today the pedagogy has to be totally based on the case studies. That's the only way to engage and ensure that students are with the faculty. Otherwise, you come and go to classroom, first bench, last bench, they are drawing something or mobile looking at that. There is no absolutely participation of the present in the classroom. So best way is to change the pedagogy, make it practically application-oriented and bring case studies. And faculty also has to make a lot of preparation for that. Make a case study, not just coming from Harvard Business School or Stanford, and then come where they don't understand. So we need a case study which is related to Indian environment, Indian scenario. So that kind of cases are not much available. So how to ensure that faculty develop this kind of case studies which are related to Indian environment, Indian condition, which can be able to appreciate by the students, that might help students to attract or participate in the classroom. Otherwise, it's just the result is shown when they go to the corporate. When I was in corporate, used to other students, have you studied economics? Yes, sir. Can you name an author's good reference book which is widely known? Sir, Nirali, Pragati, as if Pragati not being any Pragati to you. I'm talking world class. When they go to Harvard Business School or Stanford or anywhere, they say, yeah, this is the book we refer everywhere. And there are books of that kind of standard, which we also recommend in the classroom. But nobody got the time to look at this thing because they are mostly exam-oriented and make easy questions. So a lot of issues are required, and I think mostly it's a challenge for the faculties. Faculty's job is to ensure that they do such things which will ensure and enable them to ensure that more participation and attendance in the classroom. Thank you, sir.
In continuation with sir said about, that is a basic problem now for the teachers are facing, how to bring the students in the campus. And we are finding some solutions for that also, sir. And what is missing right now everywhere is a personal touch. Personal connect is missing, and that we have to concentrate. Obviously, the innovative tools will help us to separate us from some other tasks which we do dislike, like assessment and all that, which we will get separated. And then I am expecting that, right now I am enjoying that because my class strength is 16 only. And I know everybody individually them. I am spending 8 hours with them right now. Being a director of the institute, still I am engaging 8 hours there with the students. That too first year students, surprisingly. And I am enjoying that. I'm talking about the personal touch, that is very important. Though we are now taking help of technology, personal touch matters a lot. हमें बच्चों की माँ बनना है. When I ask for, whether the kid asks for 1 roti, माँ है इसलिए 2 रोटी देती है. किसी के ऊपर घी डालती है, किसी को सूखा देती है. क्योंकि what is required for the, exactly required for the student, because there is a different pace. Now I am understanding that when I give the same problem to all the students, their pace of learning and understanding is different. So I have to generate different questions. As sir rightly said, we should not copy down the case studies and all that available, because both the teachers and students are looking the same Google. That's the main problem. So we have to stop that. Okay, please, thank you.
Sir, I am a basic teacher of engineering mechanics to the first year students. What I have learned, these students are smart students because they carry smartphones. Less tolerance and less patience. They are very lazy to hard work, and bringing challenges to bring them to the classroom is make what we have adopted the innovative techniques in the classrooms. We have reduced term works to the tests, and we have made groups of 10 students, 5 students, each depends on the subjects, and given them assignments in the form of tests, and the practicals they will be presenting to the other batches. That makes them to be present in the classrooms. So at least in the first and second semester, the attendance is almost 99%, and gradually it reduces to 60% when they come to the final year. So that achievement we have brought. And as he rightly said, sometimes you have to become mother and sometimes father also. So because you have to be a taskmaster to them to bring to the level of understanding and learning. So that is my take.
The problem is not with me or my institute is the attendance or the other kind of problems, but main problem is how to bridge the gap between the academics and the industry. That is the main problem for us. To make student more and more employable, because the industry perspective is from day one they has to be billable kind of things. I'm talking about the industry language. but how it can be possible? So otherwise, many industry talks about, can we get a fresh students with 2 years of experience? It's weird statement, but it can be possible if we are giving some internships, if we are giving some industry projects to carry forward by the students or by the staff members. Even again, the change over here is the projects will not be given directly to students, but to the staff member first. So faculty first. Why? Because students aate jate, the pattern has to be easily passed by one batch to other batch. That is the main important task. So the main is the employability of the student has to be increased, not the attendance. Because attendance, हमने पहले ही decide किया है कि theory is not at all importance. But what is important is that the hands-on. Unless and until student make their hand dirty, nothing is possible. Industry में क्या चल रहा है? That has to be required by the teacher to give it to the students. So more and more industry participation, more and more research organization participation, and we have to coin now new term rather than only academics. We have to go for applied kind of academics where the industry and the research will a part of academics. It should not be a separate kind of vertical. It should be so the border is not a crisp but a blurry border has to be tuned. So the problem is industry academia gap delta. Sorry.
Sir, I would like to add this to what you said. I'll give you the live case study which we practiced in our campus, especially for civil engineering students, because the campus placements for civils are very horrible. If you are all the engineering students, the maximum package civil engineering student gets is 1 lakh rupees, as compared to the minimum package for IT computer students is 3.5 lakhs rupees. So we had formed III, that is Industry Institute Interaction Group, and 5 companies joined with us, Sterling, SACPL, etc., 5 companies, and they had designed a course for structural practices. The syllabus was designed by them. The syllabus was taught by them, industry people, and it was given open to all the students that if you complete this syllabus, and after syllabus, they will be assessing the students only through interviews or the case studies or the live examples. Your pay package will increase from 10,000 rupees per month to 25 in the probation and 50,000 after the probation. That was the challenge. And we successfully trained 84 students, taught by the industry people, syllabus made by them, that was the extra subjects, 4 subjects given by the students, and enthusiastically they completed. And what we did, when industry people were teaching the subjects, we made our 2 faculty to teach sit for the lectures as a student in every subjects, because now further batches, our faculties are teaching to the next batches. And fortunately, we could place 35 students at the package of 22,000 per month, and others are in pipeline. So this can be workable, sir, especially in the core branches.
I feel COVID period has taught us a lot. We imagined that pre-COVID, that classes are required to be physically only. But however, we realized that post-COVID, that it is not necessarily that physically presence is required for all the courses. Definitely, there are certain courses which are wherein physical presence is required. Definitely, there are certain courses where it is online can also be used. And using the technology, the course notes can be made available to the students at any time. They can learn at their own paces. However, for the assessment, especially when it is online and when you say it is an online course, the students are required to upload their assignment on the module. But when we gave initially, the student used to copy one another and just paste it. So we said, no, you have to handwrite it and then scan it and send it. As rightly said by one of the panel members, students are very smart. They use the smart tools. There are certain tools available on the internet where it is converted to a handwritten tool. So they used to send it on a handwritten, and the students are very smart. And also sometimes when they have to share it, actually there is one limit. When you are uploading the notes, there is a limit of the file size. So the student used to share the link, and then later on, when the time is over, they used to update the data in the background and update their assignment of the time was complete. But the students didn't realize that there was a timestamp attached with it whenever they attend it. So these are, even though students are smart, but what I want to say is we have to be smart also along with the students. But yeah, of course, having said that it is smarter, especially impersonation is very high whenever you are taking online. But also, I feel we are using tools like Turnitin, which is a very good tool that we've integrated with our LMS. So it's very hard for the students to copy. Now, coming to the last point, one of the how I use the technology in my class is usually in our college it is mandatory for all the senior faculty members to teach either first year or second year, because in the final year students go for the placement, usually hardly the classes happen there. So we feel it doesn't make any sense for the senior faculty to teach the higher classes. So I teach the first year. In first year, as I said, as per the Indian environment, the class is very big. So I'm taking the attendance in every class. I feel it's going to eat away a lot of time. So what we use we have used the automated tool on the LMS itself. Briefly, randomly, the attendance is enabled online. Briefly, in the class itself, because almost all the students have the smartphones, they will give it. However, there are few students, 5 to 6 students who do not have the internet or smart mobiles. For them, it is easily possible for us to immediately click the attendance of those particular students. So I usually do not wait more than 1 to 2 minutes in taking the attendance. This way, using the technology will really help us. And this was all never possible or imagined before pre-COVID, but however, COVID is teaching us a lot. Even your international faculty who were not even taught, even imagined, are going to be part of a curriculum. So industry people, then the international faculty are also part of a curriculum. This is only possible because of the automation. And if this automation would have been there, I feel this would not have been possible, or we did not thought of. Thank you.
Yeah. Many points have covered by the panelists. I would like to add a few points. For our institute also, there is no problem of student attendance. Rather, it is the highly preferred institute, and the student, the major challenge is how to satisfy the needs of these bright students. And when I use the word satisfaction of the stakeholders, obviously their parents as well. So being autonomous, we do have a lot of flexibility with us. So few practices that has led to very good recognition. One practice is involving the parents, involving the stakeholders, industry in the curriculum design through different board of studies and this. Because of autonomy, it was possible for us. And interestingly, the students were also asked, or their thought is also taken care. Rather, one course we have planned in our curriculum itself, it is the design thinking type. So wherever the students were purposely given the experiential learning or project-based learning, some topic, and they will work upon it in the form of model, in the form of idea, and they submit it. So that way the creativity, critical thinking, then innovative thinking, those aspects is taken care. And the students, no doubt, students are very brighter. Everybody agrees, all the panelists agrees. So to feed their thrust, so the different global grand challenges were made available to them. The faculty is trained, rightly pointed out by some panelists. So major focus is given on the faculty training. International affiliation, so the happened at the research level as well as at the institute level, and collaboratively the content has been delivered by the industry people, by the international people, and the trained faculty. So train the trainer concept is used to minimize the industry gap. So specifically to address few technology, co-teaching concept is used. Co-teaching meaning is that content of the curriculum is delivered by the industry people, assessed by the industry people, and the professor of practice that we are now implementing from this year. So wherever the experienced industry persons, they were purposely appointed to deliver the curriculum and to deliver the practicals and the project aspects, so that the research level or research that component can be added. And one, again, highlighting feature I would like to highlight, intellectual property, IP, is one of the very important domain. So right from the first year, the students were exposed to this domain by certain credit is given to that domain, IP. And whatever the models, whatever the critical ideas students were developed, so we are promoting them in the form of projects. They will continue carry forward in the subsequent year. But the major challenge, to summarize, what I found is that to satisfy the needs of these bright students. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, dear panelists. We have discussed almost some of the challenges where competition, industry institute gap, the gap which is seen in terms of satisfying the bright students. So these gaps can be bridged once our leaders are equipped, once our leaders are already equipped and they are ready with those avenues. Now, the forum is open for question answer session. We are lacking time. It's almost showing 0. But just 1 minute where you can direct your question to our panelists. But before that, thank you all panelists for 100% attendance, number 1. Number 2, engaging, enlightening, informative, and interesting session. Thank you all. Open for the question answer session.
Question related to admission. I'm myself a faculty and director. I have 10 years of corporate experience and a decade in, I'm a learner, I would say, not a teacher. So is it a good idea, a good practice to involve the faculty in the interview process? Because finally, it is the faculty at the end of the day who's going to interact with the learner. So is it a good idea? And I understand accreditation, there is too much. There is a lot on the table for any faculty. But is it not a good idea to involve the faculty somewhere in the process?
I would like to highlight, sir. You are rightly said. What practice I do in my campus, whenever the first year admissions takes place, that time first year entire faculty is free. So we make faculty to counsel the students whoever walks in the campus. Not only counsel, but they take them to the walkthrough also. The another reverse engineering what we do in our campus is we bring students of science college junior students to our campus. That's called as a campus tour, visiting the engineering college before actually going to the engineering college. That helps them to choose the stream of their liking. What happens now? Now the era is such that everybody wants to become a computer engineer and IT engineers, and everyone wants to work in a Silicon Valley. That's the real challenge for all of us. So shortly involving faculties in the counseling admission process is very much helpful from the student and the student parents' point of view also.
Thank you.
Yeah, another thing is that when faculties are involved, they are your first point of contact for any student, because generally they are the first touch points. Because generally, whenever any student inquires, whether he or she comes to the campus or maybe on the online mode, they really want to know what kind of faculties you have with you, or what are their strengths, or how these faculties are, how well qualified they are, what is their experience. So not just in the selection process, but like sir rightly said, we can also involve them right from the time that they can maybe even travel across to different locations and then maybe speak to other students over there. That actually helps us in saving time again, because I present something to the student online, he comes here, then he interacts and then he takes a decision. Rather, I can send somebody across there and he can interact and bridge that gap immediately over there.
I had a point to add to what our panelists said. Basically, when the students are coming, especially to engineering, because I'm associated with engineering, I can share my experience with engineering. Some of the students come by choice and some of the students come by chance. Basically, sometimes it's become very difficult for the students to really understand what exactly they are, whether it is going to help their career or not. When the faculty is involved, I feel with the amount of flexibility that is being added into the curriculum because of the NEP, because of the autonomy, I feel even being a mechanical engineer, you can get specialized in computer-related, programming-related courses, especially like artificial intelligence, machine learning. So I feel these some of the things which can be addressed only by face-to-face discussion. I feel addressing such issues through the faculty members who are competent really can make the students more comfortable to take the admission. Thank you.
Only faculties could promote the new, as per the ASD curriculum, honors and minors degree programs have come. Only faculties could convince them how the honors and minors degrees can be given to the interdisciplinary courses.
See, I came to the academics after spending 20 years in the industry. So I could see what the industry demands or industry need and what is the classroom teaching. So I found a huge gap between what we are churning out and what corporate is looking for. So industry academia collaboration initiative, that is very important, and that can really bridge the gap and also in the long run solve the problem of, to some extent, the so-called graduated unemployment. You know, that's also more and more students coming, at the same time we're adding more and more unemployable in the pool. So the focus should be that how to ensure that you create all employable graduates rather than putting in the basket more unemployment. Thank you.
So, any more questions? Okay. Shall we conclude the session? Thank you all. Thank you, dear audience, for your patient listening. Over to the organizer for the next session.
Thank you, Priyanka ma'am, for curating the panel so well and the panelists for sharing their in-depth knowledge. I would now request Mohammad Iqbal, Head of Higher Education, Elets Technomedia Private Limited, to please come up on the stage and present the mementos. Dr. Priyanka Singh, Director, Dr. D.Y. Patil, Institute of Management and Entrepreneur Development, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, ma'am. Aditya Bavadekar, Chief Executive Officer, Mitcon Institute of Management, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. Dr. Pralay Kumar Ghosh, Director, Surya Datta Group of Institute, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. Dr. Vivek V. Kulkarni, Director, Innovation and Incubation Center, Sanjay Godawat University, Kolhapur, Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. Dr. J.B. Patil, Campus Director, Universal College of Engineering, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Thank you so much, sir. Professor Dr. Vivek S. Deshpande, Director, Vishwakarma Institute of Information Technology, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. Dr. Mahesh D. Godgar, Director, MIT Academy of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, sir. And Professor Neelkant B. Chopre, Deputy Director, Pimpri Chinchwad College of Engineering, Pune, Maharashtra. Thank you, all of you. I request you all for a group photograph.